lot of people stuck in a place they never seen. It's a cold world, best friends turn to enemies. People come, people go, a lot of memories. Ain't no second chances, bitch, this ain't Jeopardy. The hug on my back, cause they know I got the recipe.
I always forget it's up there, Coach. I do. We're live. What's up, guys? Pillar Talk Reloaded. You guess what episode this is, Coach? I'd like a guess.
You already know. I have no idea what episode
That's the fun of it. 165.
Wow.
165.
165.
Taking us almost 4 years to get here.
Hey, but that's still 165 episodes.
Yep.
That's impressive.
Yep. Pretty cool. Today we have, I don't know, would you say former or former Miss America, Kaye Lani?
Hello,
How are you?
everybody. I'm doing great. It was so funny. Well, I should put this out. It was so funny when you said, "Are you ready, Coach?" And I thought I was waiting for you to say I was born ready.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, a true football coach coming up. So
I
I know
wasn't
the
sure if
viewers
it
out
was
there.
like-
I'm excited.
You know, like the president never stops being Mr. President, you know?
You know, it's so wonderful because when we go to Atlantic City, or now it's down in Florida, and it's kind of moved around to a couple different, you know, the program itself, the competition itself. I love it because all of the people who supported all the Miss Americas, they refer to us as forevers. So we're forever Miss
Okay.
Americas. I
Yep.
love that
See?
because I
Yep.
still got my
Yep.
crown. They didn't take my crown from me. So I still have my crown, and I
Right.
will always hold the title Miss America 1988. So it's pretty exciting. Yeah, I still love it, and still gives me goosebumps when I watch the show. Can't believe it happened to me. Just this young girl from Monroe, Michigan, and who ended up being able to come back to her hometown and take care of some things that were needed in my hometown. I'm just really grateful, and I can't imagine living anywhere else. So it's great to be on the show.
I love living here too. I really do.
Yeah.
I've been to a few different places, like we were talking beforehand. I've been to about half the states, and I've lived in a few different states. I've lived in Pittsburgh, and I've lived in Virginia or West Virginia. I can't remember. That one was only for a couple months.
Sure.
I was a farm stable, and boy,
Isn't that
yeah,
interesting?
horses.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah. I got bit by horses many times trying to go in there, and they were $1 million prize Arabian horses at this barn.
That would be like my biggest
Multi-million
fear,
dollar
though.
horses.
I always think, oh my goodness, I don't want to walk around with just sandals on because I think of those hoofs.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I would look at those teeth. I'd be like, oh my gosh, here, take the carrot.
There was one that did not like guys. I made the lady that was working go in there,
Oh my
that stall. He'd try to bite me every single time.
Oh my gosh.
He'd be walking by and he'd
Oh,
horses have personalities like
Yeah.
like dogs do.
Sure.
Even more so sometimes.
Well, how old were you when you were this stable hand? That this son was
24,
from?
23,
Oh,
something
okay.
like that.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Same
It's all
as
about making memories.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
my life. I'm all about that.
Yeah.
The memories is what's important.
Yeah. Well, before we went live, I know we were talking a lot, like you mentioned, just the different places. And I'm just really grateful for all the traveling I did. I mean, growing up, I remember I just finished 6th grade, and we were living down in the Bedford area. I went to Jackman Road in the intermediate school down there. And I remember getting off the bus, and I looked right away into my driveway is a camper. And I thought, whose camper is this? And my sister and I are running back to the house going, whose camper is this? And our mom and dad are there. And they said, well, we decided to take a trip. One of Dad's friends are lending him this camper, and we're going to go and tour the western part of the United States. And boy, was that fun. We took off and we were gone for like 2 months, came back about a week before school started after Labor Day. And boy, some of those memories, I'm telling you, it was so great. I mean, I swam in the Salt Lake. I saw Mount Rushmore. We wheeled and dealed on the streets of Mexico, and I saw the Redwood Forest, and, just traveling and seeing how beautiful everything is. And then winning Miss America and being to every state except Alaska. Any place I went, I'd always get some of the same questions, but one of the most common questions is, gosh, what's the most favorite place you've been to?
I was just going to ask that next.
There you go, Coach. But without hesitation, it was like, I really enjoy going home. And I just loved coming back to Monroe. I mean, this is the place that, my dad was raised, and they've just always been so welcoming. This is a wonderful community. I mean, I just feel like not just because of Kaye Lani or the things that I've worked hard to implement or get going in the programs that I've really worked hard at bringing to our community. They've supported me. And it's just great when you travel outside of this county and you hear from other state counties the amount of resources that we have available in Monroe for the people here. They're like, wow, you guys network, you talk to each other, you support each other. So even working with Gabby's or at Gabby's, and people walk in and say, I need some support. I've lost a loved one, but I'm also at risk of losing my home now. I can't pay the utility bills. I'm wondering, I need transportation for this. Monroe is just a well of resources to be able to say, we're not going to abandon you. We know a lot of people, and there's a lot of great things that are offered here in Monroe. So whenever I would be asked, what's your favorite place? I'm like, kind of like, I want to go back home. That's where I feel most comfortable, where I can pull my hair back and, walk through a store and people are like, wow, you look kind of like Kaye Lani. And I'm like, yeah, it's me, no makeup, my hair pulled back and sweats. And, but I really, this is my home, and I just really love it. And I love, feeling the embrace of the people of Monroe. So
Guys, she's gotten to the level of fame where she's got her own road.
I do.
She's got a road
This
named
is
after her,
1,000%
guys.
true. Yeah.
It is. But I have to tell
I
you,
asked my wife about that one time. I was like, wait a minute. We drove by and I was like, the sign, the name. I was like, wait a minute.
yeah,
That was what it
it's
was.
pretty cool. But I have to say, it first started out, nobody lived there, but it has graduated to actually people being able to say, I live on Kaye Lani
Yeah.
Avenue.
Yeah.
I'm pretty pumped about that.
What is that like? What's that like? That's pretty cool feelings.
Very, very cool feeling. Yeah. It's but when they first unveiled that sign, I still have pictures. I'm starting now to go back through all the boxes and the bins and look through things and just I don't know, just reflect on. I mean, so many things have been. I've just received so many wonderful gifts in my life, but seeing them when I was just out there and they revealed that sign, I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And I shared with people when I would speak. I even have a road named after me. Nobody lives there, but I can't say that anymore because people actually they grew that area, and I'm
Yeah.
like, people actually have their address as Kaye Lani Avenue. So it is kind of cool.
That'd be weird at the same time a little bit. Cool, but weird.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's such a pain to have to spell that road out. Every time you're on a phone call and you're like, yeah, what is your address? Well, it's Kaye space. I know it's not that easy because
See, I probably misspelled it. I misspelled it already, I think.
I think
Don't
Forgot
worry
the
about
E.
it. Don't worry about it.
I think
Forgot
it's
the E,
just
Coach.
cool too, just because like, people from our area sometimes have an attitude of like, you can't make it.
Because you're from Monroe.
Because you're not from, a bigger city, or you're not from a place that has had a ton of people make it out, whether it be athletics or, any type of form of art. That's kind of a thing that a lot of people think. So I think when certain people make it out of our community and do great things, and especially are willing to come back to your community,
Sure.
and then be a part of it still, like that to me
And
is super
when you
important.
think about it, there's a lot of Kaye Lani's, not necessarily like beauty queens that are coming out of here, but Bronco, right? There's
Yeah.
artists,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
all sorts of people, there's actors,
We have a very talented community and lots
there's
of
hockey
talented
players.
neighbors.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's tons of talent coming out
I
of Audie
know.
Cole.
Yeah.
There's
Yep.
tons of
Yeah.
talent here in Monroe, and that's half the reason why we started Pillar Talk, is to show
Mhm.
everybody Monroe doesn't suck
Yeah.
at all.
And there can be more the more we get the message out to
Yep.
like, don't settle and don't quit, because you can
Right.
don't
Right.
stop doing something because you think, oh, I can't make it. I'm from Monroe.
Right.
It's a bad attitude
most
to have.
most of
There's
the people
examples.
are small town people that make
Yeah.
their lives
Yep.
happen.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. And it's and I love it. 'Cause a lot of people are amazed, in the Miss America system. My Miss America sisters have asked me, where are you living now? And I'm like, I'm still in Monroe. And not very many Miss Americas went back to their hometown after this, like
Right.
mid 70s. They were presented opportunities to move out to California or New York, or business opportunities to move to a bigger city, like you mentioned, Coach Kaye, and, so things like that. And I just thought, you know what, before I started this program, I wanted to be a registered nurse. And when I graduated from St. Vincent Medical Center School of Nursing down in Toledo, and I said, I only entered it because I needed scholarship money. I came from a middle class family. My mom, worked at Michigan Gas Utilities, and my dad owned and operated his own truck and auto parts business on the East End, right in the East Elm. And we, whenever he wheeled and dealed, we paid the bills, and that's just how things worked. I wanted to be a nurse. I applied and got a student loan, and then I read about Miss Monroe County. It was right after my high school graduation, and I thought, I'm going to try it. It was $750 winning, and I had just been accepted to St. V School of Nursing, and it was $750 for the first semester,
Oh.
not including books, not including room and board, and not including Lord College I would be attending for all my science and psychology courses. But I just thought it was ironic that I had to try it. I had never been in any childhood pageants, had never done any other pageant program, but I really was drawn to that. And I thought, I'm just going to try it. And my focus throughout the 6 years I competed was to get scholarship money, but also, take the steps, through my nursing school, getting hired in the oncology unit, wanting to bring forth a hospice to my community who not only needed one, but deserved one way back in the late 80s. It was just becoming a thing in the United States back in the 70s. And I felt that working as an oncology nurse, that, what happens to the people when medicine and technology fail? How are we going to support them and their families? And I'm like, I need to bring this to Monroe. So it was, I didn't even have to think twice about it. I knew after Miss America, that was the thing that opened the door for me to get that hospice here, for me to meet someone like Jan Baden and Ellie Merzak, who had a dream of creating a bereavement program for children and their families who suffered the death of their loved ones. All of that happens for a reason. And so I thought, I have to do this in my hometown where I was raised, where the people deserve programs like that can help support them. So it was without a doubt that I was going back home to be able to do this. The gifts that were given through Miss America allowed me the opportunity to bring those gifts and share it with the people that I loved, who had supported me throughout all the pageants I had been in, everything. I mean, I came back after Miss America 1 month later to a homecoming celebration that you probably are too young to even know or remember, where 20,000 people show up for a parade in my honor, and I'm the only float. Nobody
Wow.
else, no other Miss America had a homecoming
Wow.
celebration like mine when Kaye Lani returned to Monroe, Michigan. I was handed a check that said $10,000 from the people in this community and all the auto dealers that collected money to begin the first Hospice of Monroe Fund. Nobody else had that. Where was I going? I came back home. And there was I didn't even have to think about it. I knew this is where I needed to be, and I knew that I had to share that gift and create programs that would help support the community that I loved, who had supported me. It was without a doubt. I didn't even have to think twice about it. And that's where, Chuck's from Ida, and we began dating before Miss America. Our kids were, born and raised here. And we built a house right next to the house that my mom and dad had bought when I was in the 9th grade. And my brother lives in that house now. And 2 doors down is Chuck's sister and her family. And that's what I love. That's what I love. I really
Yep,
love it. So I
that's
couldn't
Monroe.
imagine doing any of those things or sharing those gifts or resources or programs with any other community. I needed to bring it back to Monroe, and which is what I did. And yeah, I'm just really, really love and appreciate this town and for supporting me. So
That was
well,
I have like several like ways, several thoughts and questions, ways to take this, because like
Mhm.
there's the part about Monroe. First off, respect to you for wanting to do that and impact the community. You know, same kind of reason why when after I left and coached a lot downriver, why I came home, because I thought we had a lack of something here. Now what you're doing was super important.
Sure.
So first, a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, because
That's
most
incredible.
people
Thank
want to
you.
do what you did to get out. You
Yeah.
did what you did and you
To
stayed.
support
Yes.
and to
Yeah.
build.
Well, you
right?
came back too, Coach.
Right. Yeah,
Right?
but maybe it's because that service or those services are close to my heart for many
Right.
reasons. Just a lot of respect for that. That's something to come home and implement that back in our community. Like that's super important. So just a lot of respect for that.
Thank you.
And I still I want to hear about the pageant and just the whole experience. But I don't want to miss anything on this topic about Monroe because I think it's really important to hear somebody coming back and kind of doing what they can to uplift the community. I think that's, we tell our student athletes, we always say, if you're going to go to college and go do a bunch, that's awesome. Go do it. Go
Mhm.
live your life. Go experience everything. Just make sure you come back sometimes.
Right.
Make sure you say hello to people. Make sure you're around in the community. At
Yeah.
least be a part of the community and be
Can't
back
forget where you
sometime.
came from.
Right.
Yeah. And whether
100%.
it's good or bad, you can't, and I'm sure not everybody had the same, we all have different experiences, here in Monroe, growing
Mhm.
up and what we were exposed to. And but either way, don't forget to bring back some of those tools and those skills and the talents to where you came from to even help someone else. So see, while you were saying like you returned here, I'm sure that in part, I know that you love what you do in coaching, but there's a lot of responsibility that comes with coaching. You are a mentor, you are a leader. So you sit there and or stand there or yell or instill, whatever you do, it is for the sole purpose of making a difference.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how do we all become difference makers?
In
we all
other
wanna touch
people's
people.
lives, not just like,
Yeah.
oh, it's my family, or in
Right.
other people's families'
Mhm.
lives, your community,
Yeah.
not just
And we
being
have to be able to
selfish.
connect.
Yep.
And I don't know if you want to say, I mean, I too brought back hospice, so maybe it was a little selfish on my part, maybe, but that's a good thing. The joy of giving.
Yes.
I mean, we need to teach people about the joy of giving and the
Yes.
joy of giving back, how it makes you feel. And it's a good feeling to be able to extend a hand, to be able to extend a smile. And, we've gotten so caught up into, I feel like, critiquing and judging.
Or taking a video.
Right.
Just
Or whatever.
judgment through a video.
Sure. And
through a
I'm like,
caption.
and I'm really, I'm okay with who I am. And I know I'm not, the Miss America thing isn't for everybody. For me and for the community back then, it was a good gig. It was wonderful. And not everybody are pageant people. I'm okay with that because there's a lot of things that I don't agree with. But, I just feel that we're all given an opportunity to make a difference in someone's life. And I love the feeling that it gives me when someone barely is able to walk up the steps to our building who has lost a child. And I know that she's out there. And I can see her through my office window. And I can see her standing behind her car. And I know her appointment's at 2. And I love being able to walk to the front door and open it up
Mhm.
and go out and meet her, wrap my arms around this mother and walk her back in. And walk into the building and say, "You are safe here." I mean, that's a very good feeling. So I don't know, is it selfish? Because it does make me feel good to do that. Maybe, but it's all about trying to empower people, make them feel special every time you have a chance to be with them. And I've often talked to school athletes. A lot of kids, I don't know if you guys realize this, but and maybe the viewers don't, but Gabby's has been very intentional to do some research to find out where there are gaps in services to helping especially children cope with the death of a loved one. Now in our country, 1 in 12 kids will lose a parent or sibling before they turn the age of 18. 1 in 12.
Wow.
1 in 11 in the state of Michigan.
That's almost stunning, to be honest.
And
No,
that's
not
that
almost.
is just a
stunning.
parent or sibling.
That's
That does
shocking.
not count a cousin, an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, a
Wow.
neighbor, a classmate. It's 1 in 11 in Michigan. So Michigan as a state the kids are higher risk of losing a parent or sibling before they turn the age of 18 than in the country. In our service area, Monroe County and surrounding area, it's 1 in 9. Okay. So talk about making a difference and being able to make people feel special, that they can make it against all odds, that these are the tools. So see, that's kind of what you do, Coach. You came back to like, I want to show them. And I've talked to other kids like, well, my coach yells at me. My coach yells at me. I go, that's a good thing. I don't know if any of the viewers out there have read the last lecture by Randy Posh, I believe, but there is a chapter in there where the assistant coach talks to him and he says, why is the head coach always yelling at me? And he said, you know what? Be grateful, because he believes that you can do better than where you're at. If he stops yelling, it's then that you should be worried, because then you've reached your potential.
And that's the truth.
So keep yelling, Coach Kaye. I don't know. But it's just a chance to really make a difference. And I think we all have that opportunity to just make people feel special and people feel loved and cared about. And so that's what we do every day at Gabby's, that's why I love it so much. It really makes me feel good inside. So
see, I think we can only impact and kind of like make our mark in life one of two ways, or both combined. It's either got to be your talent or your passion. And a lot of times your talent ends up kind of becoming your passion, but though it's one of those two things, right? It's either something that you feel so strongly about. Maybe something happened in life. Maybe it's just circumstances that you grew up in. Like maybe you grew up in poverty, right? And your life mission now is to make sure, maybe it's not necessarily a talent, but it's a passion to make sure that poverty in your community gets dealt with.
right.
So it's got to be one of those two things, or those two things combined
That drives you.
drives you. And that's where I think the selfishness kind of feeling comes from. But it's also like, it's a selflessness that comes out. It's a selflessness outcome, because you're doing it. It's doing it out of wanting to impact, not just make. I think money is where it comes into play, right? Like anything you're doing to just purely kind of
money,
make money or get a cash flow is more of a selfish thing you're doing. I think once you start doing things to impact first,
depends on what you do with the money, though, Coach Kaye.
That's also very true.
That is true.
That's
it depends on where you focus on the
100%.
Gifts that you've been given because of your talents. Where are you going to take some of those gifts, and how are you going to throw it back
definitely
to empower programs and services and create that joy of giving in someone who is able to utilize their talents and maybe reap financial gain or financial rewards? Then share it and empower someone else with it. That is probably the biggest key, is all about sharing and being kind to others and helping people maybe get some clarity that they too can achieve great things, and then defining what those great things are. Because for a lot of people in our world, a great thing may be something simple in someone else's mind or eyes, and I always stop to think when I always want to get someone's definition. Like, I want to be a success. I remember when I was in the 6th grade, and I don't know if she's listening, but Miss Perchek out there, she said, okay, anybody who can say the alphabet backwards gets extra credit. She was one of those great teachers at Bedford. I absolutely loved her, and she loved owls. And so I learned to say the alphabet backwards really fast, and I can do it even to this day. But did you want to hear it?
Might as well.
Yeah, okay, good.
Honestly.
All right, you ready? ZYXWVUTSRQPONMLKJHGFEDCBA.
That's
the alphabet.
That's probably faster than I can do the regular alphabet.
Really? Probably depends on when we ask you. But anyway, so but she also mentioned one of our homework assignments were to define the word success. And I remember asking my dad, we were sitting around, and he said, well, what do you guys, what homework you got? My dad, if you didn't know him, he was a big, tall, rough guy. He was a boxer and one of the toughest guys. I mean, if not the toughest guy I've ever known in my life. And most of Monroe, I have to say, knew, yes, a lot of respect. But I I said, I don't know. I think success, I'm going to talk about being a famous singer or an actress. I want to do movies, or I don't know what I'm going to do. Now, I'm 12. And my dad says to me, well, Kaye Lani Ray, you don't have to be an actress or a musician or the president or a fireman saving people from burning buildings or a surgeon, doing heart surgery on someone to be a success. And he said, I want you to always remember this. There will be people in your life, your mom and I, your siblings, your friends, your bosses, that will have expectations of you everywhere you go. People will have expectations of you. If you want to be a success, never stop at just meeting what they expect you to do. A successful person always takes one step beyond what people expect them to do. That's being a success. People will look at a successful person when you don't just meet what they expect you to do, but you go one step further. Then they're like, wow, in whatever capacity that is.
Right. Whatever your talent is.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yep.
Even if it's a friendship, go one step beyond, go the extra mile. So I'm like, I've always remembered that since the age of 12. So
Very
during that
similar
year,
to the wealth question. What does wealth mean to you?
oh gosh, well,
it could mean family, it could mean money, it could mean
yeah,
the times had, the memories, what's
yeah.
wealth,
I was going to say,
what is
'cause
really important to
I've
you?
been through a lot of losses in my life. I've lost my brother Nick. My father is now gone, at the age of 59. Nick died in a car accident. He was 23. I've lost a child. So wealth for me is family, friends, time, memories. That to me is like a lot of great riches.
Mhm.
But I also am a little selfish because I love making people feel special. And that makes me feel very rich. Josh, very, very
Yeah.
rich is when I can make people or help them feel special in a time that I'm meeting them.
When they need it most.
Yes, but it even
Right.
goes beyond that. It's someone not just at Gabby's, but it's checking out at Meijer
Yep.
or Walmart or Kroger or Highlight. It's checking out and knowing the cash register, the person, the checkout person is quieter, quick, looking down, just scanning. And you stop and you just say, I'm so sorry, you look like you're having a bad day. 99.9% of the time, there's something going on.
Mm-hmm.
Someone is sick, someone is dying, a big fight. And it's amazing to me how there's a sense or something about me that I can reach over and just touch someone, even when they may not be a toucher, that I just tap their arm and to say, I'm so sorry, you look like you're having a bad day. And they just automatically drop everything out on the conveyor thing and say this with tears coming down and giving them a hug. And I've never met them before.
Right.
That's wealth.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is wealth. And yeah, and sharing, keeping all those memories, going through all the boxes. And I have a memory room that is my Mimi and Papa's furniture when my mom lost her 2-year-old brother, that my Mimi went into a deep depression and Papa took her furniture shopping. And all this furniture pieces are in memory of my mom's younger brother who died of a heart defect at the age of 2, Buddy, which would have been my uncle. And we go in there and we sit. And I have pictures on the wall of Nick in his senior year with Coach Barry Alvarez and the whole team and how they won the Rose Bowl that year. And the seniors on the big boat right there on, Lake Michigan. And, my treasure chest of my child after he died and the blanket he was wrapped in. And, just little things. My Aunt Mary's little good luck charm when she played bingo at the night at the KFC hall. And, so I think memories is another thing. and time with family and friends and creating memories. It could be something very simple, but that's wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Fills your heart up. Yeah. And it's something money can't buy.
Yep, and that's the biggest thing.
It is.
That's basically what I think wealth is whatever makes you and the people around you happy that money can't buy.
Yeah. Yep, that's it. So
Coach,
have you already answered
you
this
got his
question,
heart
Coach?
strings tore over here.
I was just listening. No,
I didn't know if you had answered this question, so I was waiting for your response, Coach Kaye.
I think it's that. I think it's exactly that. I think it's the way you make people feel when you're here. I think it's the way you impact people. For me as a coach, in that aspect, for me, it's always about same things. It's just in a different way, right? It's about how many kids are we able to send to college, right? How many of these young men are, and not just send them to college, but send them ready, send them prepared, send them, not just ready to do what they need to on the field, but be outstanding citizens in the community they choose to go to. Treat others with respect, all the different stuff. Sit in the right spot in class. Don't have your headphones in and when the professor's talking. Just all those little things. That to me is
those life skills.
That's
really.
to me is wealth, is kind of like how you impact and how you're, because at the end of the day, we're all at some point it's going to be our time, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's 10 years, 20 years, 40, whatever it ends up being. And I've always said, like, it's always as humans, we're a collection of our experiences and our memories. So it's always the experiences and the people, and then kind of, to me, how you're remembered is something that's always been important to me. And it may be a little selfish in a way, but it's more just when I go, I want to be known as somebody who did something worthwhile, something positive. That to me is wealth in a nutshell, is all that. The money thing is just, I mean, I hate to say it, but money is just more of a vessel. You never want to be broke. You want to make money so that you can do things, right? But it's more of just a vessel for experiences and different things. And I don't see it as, it's not the important thing as far as building. And I've always said, I'll make more money in life and things will keep, but I'll just keep, I'm never going to be a guy that sits on a whole bunch of money in a bank account. Now, do you have a savings for an emergency fund and different things? And do you want to have some savings? Like, absolutely. I'm not saying live paycheck to paycheck, but at the same time, like, am I going to get a check for 10 grand and just sit on it? No, I'm going to go use it for something to put back in the community. So to me, the money part is just kind of the vessel for obtaining things, but the wealth is actually in the people, the experiences you're able to build as you're here. You hear that saying that, like, some people have done more in 30 years or seen more in 30 years than people have done in 60. And it's sad, but it's true. It's like there are some people who have accumulated more relationships and more memories in 30, 40 years than some did, and unfortunately 80. And then, they look back and there's an empty hospital room or and it's 4 people and that, in your whole entire life. Whereas there's people at, 30, 40 that have had just great relationships, friends they go out with every week. Maybe there's couples they go out with. There's, most of my relationships, if I'm being honest today, as far as friendships go, are with either people we've done business with, or it's mostly football coaches, to be honest. It's a bunch of networking of football coaches. But
well, those are your main connections right now.
It's who I'm always with. So but I think that's, to me, is kind of the same thing, right? It's just, what are you doing while you're here to impact, and who are you building these experiences with? That's why I think it's amazing to hear, like, all the states you've traveled to and being able to do the Miss America, and like, that's just life experiences. And how many people, even if you don't talk to them daily, how many people did you meet that were just incredible people when you traveled?
I just
more
don't
than
know
she
if
can remember.
I am telling, I did keep 5 journals, and there have been so many people say you have to write a book, Kaye Lani, because I remembered what my dad mentioned to me when I was 12 about taking one step more. So one extra step. But I mean, before I go that, I did want to mention too that you know, when you were talking about all those and the connections, I learned a lot from my parents, Coach Kaye. I mean, my mom just turned 82, and she has friendships that she has stayed in touch with these people when we lived in Bedford and I moved when I was in the 8th grade. These women get together every 2 months for lunch. And she still has that group. She has her Michigan Gas group. She worked at Tenneco. She has that group. She's 82 and she's going all over the place meeting with lunches. And I've got this lunch, and there's such a wide variety of friends. And I will never forget when my dad died, that when we greeted people, I mean, there was Sheriff Crutchfield there, judges, 3 homeless men, a motorcycle group that came in, Iron Coffins. And to see the variety of people that my dad had touched in his 59 years of life of growing up, I just thought, this is so profound. He never really thought in terms of status. He just was friendly with everybody. And as tough as he was, and a boxer, and I know there's a lot of viewers and a lot of people in this town have a lot of stories about my dad. He could lift up the front end of a car by himself. He was tough. He owned a junkyard on the East End, and everybody knew Lani Rafko. But he had integrity. He was honest, and he would battle for you and back you. I mean, he was righteous, but he was friends with everybody, all walks of life. And so that one step more that I did, Miss America, when you're crowned, you immediately go on this, 6 months of your year is booked. The only thing that they save room for is a homecoming celebration to come home. I only came home 4 times the whole year. I did 20,000 air miles a month on airplane flights all over, and that's what I averaged. But you're already booked the first 6 months. So I immediately say, when I'm done, because the days consisted of not travel time and not this kind of time, interviews with press or anything like that. It wasn't anything like that, but the actual appearance times, like maybe signing autographs, doing a speech at one of the sponsors. And we had like 7 sponsors, I believe. But as soon as those 4 hours plus the travel and the other thing was done, I would immediately say to the people who had invited me, okay, get me to a hospice. Get me to a hospital. I'm an oncology nurse. I want to open up a hospice back in my hometown of Monroe. Get me to speaking to students. Get me into the high school. I want to go into the nursing college. So I always went one step beyond. Even now that I speak, it's strange to me. I was last year down in Houston, and I was speaking at a luncheon to thank sponsors for giving money to a child's hospice program. And the lady in charge said, I would love for you to speak to our nurses, Kaye Lani. How much more will that charge be? Because it was a speakers bureau that got me. And I went, oh, there is no more charge. What do you want? Well, we don't need you now at 11. We need you at 7:30. I was hoping for you to catch the night shift and that. And I go, absolutely. Where do you want me to be? Well, and then I wasn't sure. I mean, we have some hospice patients. Would you be open? I go, you booked a speech. Get me out there talking to nurses to tell them thank you for all the things that they do for patients. Get me a tour of the hospice. I want to visit patients. I want to visit staff. And I was so amazed that she kept asking, how much will this cost? And I kept telling her, nothing. I'm here. Use me. Use me. Get me into the school. Get me to thank the garden club. Use me. I'm not just going to fly all the way here and do an hour-and-a-half luncheon as your keynote speaker. And then it was so funny how she said, well, we have a green room set aside for you to prepare for your speech. And I said, oh, I want to be out front at the registration table meeting the people I'll be speaking to. And she went, we've never had a speaker. This is our 20th year. We've never had a speaker. They always want their privacy to kind of gather their words. And I went, oh no, my warm up is to be able to talk and say hello to the people I'll be addressing in the next hour. That's my warm up.
Queen of the people.
Well, for goodness sake. So I'm thinking, I don't need a green room to sit by myself in there. What am I going to gather? I'm going to be a nervous wreck wondering who am I going to talk to? I want to get face to face with people and say, oh yeah, and that's why it went so well, because people are like, oh, I was taking photos
feel
and I
Didn't
just
have a
had
chance
a
to get
blast.
I feel
nervous.
like you break.
Yeah.
That's what I was just about to say. You kill any chance of like anxiety or nerves setting
That's
in.
what helps me.
You literally see
Yeah.
everybody before you go give a speech. You're like,
And I
already
walked
met all
around
these
visiting
people.
with everybody,
Right.
standing up, getting
You're like, we
photos.
already
I
hung
felt
out.
like I was talking to my friends, because I had already met them.
Yeah,
So it's
that-
like going that one and
that's good.
making people feel special. And but Miss America was fun. It was good. Yeah.
Let's keep talking
Yeah.
about that for a
I
minute.
know you got some questions there.
I just want to know about, I mean, you talked about this, you tapped in on the schedule a little bit there.
Yeah.
I just want to know like what that experience just kind of from, you tapped in earlier about the Miss Monroe County. So,
Right.
Starting from there, kind of how it got into the whole, just.
So,
kinda
and
got
a
to the
lot of
top.
people may not know. So it's Miss America organization is like the chief, the big umbrella. And underneath that are the state organizations. And then Miss Michigan has local franchise programs. All right. This is back when I was competing. There might be a little bit of shifting in how that's all structured now, but it's pretty basic, the same. I decided to run for Miss Monroe County. This is my hometown, whatever. I ran, needed scholarship money for school. And because I was crowned Miss Monroe, it made me eligible to run for Miss Michigan. So I competed for Miss Michigan at the age of 18, placed second runner up, got some scholarship money. I said, well, this is a good gig. And I didn't win, but I won a couple, little like side awards and stuff. And I was really excited about, and all the money went directly to St. V School of Nursing. So it paid for those tuition and brought the cost down. I still needed to get student loans and everything. That went without saying. I didn't make that much. But then the next year I went to Miss Toledo because I was in school there. So the next year I went to Miss Toledo, but I entered programs that gave me, I never thought I'd go all the way. Let's face it. But I entered programs that gave me some scholarship money to help me with that. And I didn't place at Miss Ohio, but again, Toledo was a franchise of the Ohio State. When you win a state pageant, and it took me 4 years, 4 times to win Miss Michigan, then you're eligible to go to Miss America. Now you can compete back then in open programs that were offered. Michigan only had one open program. It was Miss Hart, which is why I came back. And at that time, it was allowed to run for a local pageant you had already won. And I was able to run for Miss Monroe a second time in 86 to allow me another try at the state level. And again, just showing up at state, even if you don't even place, they were giving you like $1,500. So talking about being money hungry at the time. But anyway, but when you win a state, you go to Miss America. It's a one-shot deal at Miss America, though. You cannot win a second state title to go back to Miss America for a second time. All the women at Miss America that you watch on television are only there. It's one and done. If you don't win, even if you lose, you can't go back. Now you can go to Miss USA, but that's one and done. You can't compete for the overall title of Miss USA more than twice in your life. It is one and done. So all the people I was with, whether they won their state pageant on their first try, their sixth try, their third, or their fourth, whoever won that year can never compete again. Yeah, that might be my phone over there. I'm sorry. It's blowing. I forgot to turn it down. So anyway, but it's a one-shot deal. So if you don't win, you don't go back. And that's the Miss America thing. Now, and a lot of times, and I have to do a big shout out for my Miss America State sisters, because my group was amazing. We are still very, very close. I felt back then that any one of them, and I still do, would have made a great Miss America. I just feel like it was my time, and it was a great gift for me to bring back to my community. And I was able to get the hospice going, and then be able to meet 2 incredible co-founders, and Jan and Ellie, to get Gabby's Grief Center started, and raising our children here and our family here. It was a great gift to bring back. So it was all perfect timing. I'm a very faithful person, and I do believe he handpicked me for that, because, man, some of the women I competed with, they were dynamos. So it just worked out. Even my mom said the first time she heard me speak that next morning was, when did they teach you, did you have any speaking lessons? And I was very shy in school. I wasn't, like the homecoming queen or anything like that. I was very quiet. I went to St. Mary's Academy after I left Bedford. And yeah, so it was just I just kind of that gift just opened up, and I've never had any public speaking training. I just speak from my heart. I don't have a huge filter. It just kind of comes out, but I try to be loving and respectful and kind and always do what's best and treat people with that respect and kindness. But that year was absolutely fabulous. I cried. I'm probably one of the only Miss Americas to cry when she gave up her title. I absolutely loved it. I loved every minute of it. I cherished every minute meeting people. That's why I kept my journals. It was a beautiful, beautiful gift. And it's probably why today I'm still busy doing, ribbon cutting ceremonies or groundbreaking. I still travel, but I'm very selective. When you get the request, I mean, there is so much work to be done in Monroe that I try to limit my traveling to just 3 speaking presentations a year. Um, I, I just feel like I need to be here as a wife, as a mother, as a grandma now, and as the executive director of Gabby's, and partnering with such wonderful organizations that help empower and strengthen and keep our community healthy. And so I just feel like I'm needed here more than traveling and speaking. And that's kind of what I'm doing. But Miss America opened up a lot of doors, and it was a lot of fun.
So I'm big on mindset, and I pretty much ask this question of almost everybody in a different way.
Okay.
So what is your mindset going into, holy crap, I might actually win this?
It didn't hit me that quick.
And then how does your mindset change over the years, or if it does at all?
Okay, so that week, you're kept away from your family and friends. No phones. No, this is back 87.
Yeah, this is in the 80s.
Yep.
No cell phones.
No cell
No
phones.
internet.
No, very little internet, but
not-
there was
yeah, not
some,
like
but
today.
not accessible like it is today. So when I would see my family after a given preliminary night, my sister Kimberly would reach over and say, "Wow, everyone's talking about you. You really look good. Are you having fun?" And I remember at one time I looked and I went, "I just am not sure. I just had the interview. I thought it went well, but everyone around me is like, oh my gosh, it was the best interview of my life and blah, blah, blah. And I was just so nervous about it." And my sister looked and said, "Kaye Lani, are you having fun?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And she said, "Then quit being worried about it. You have been given an opportunity as Miss Michigan. Just enjoy it. What a great achievement to just get here.
Mhm.
Just have fun." And so that beginning of that week, I was so stressed, feeling like I had to perform and succeed and achieve for my family, my community, my friends. And she goes, "We're just all happy because if we're here because we're excited for you. But if you all of a sudden are freaking out and you're all stressed out and have this high anxiety because you're not going to do well and you are expecting so much from yourself, it doesn't make it fun for us." And I went, okay. So that was really revealing for me that the next day I just approached it with a totally different attitude. Um, that night I was stressed because my evening gown that had been donated arrived at 4:00 for my competition. It was too short. And if you ever see a video of me, at the very end, you'll see I got nervous and locked my legs, but there's the bottom of the gowns and there's Miss Michigan's. It was a little too short for me. It was too tight around the knees and I was trying to walk carefully without falling. So I was nervous about that. The night before was my talent and my poi ball that I did a Hawaiian Tahitian dance. I learned
Okay.
at Peg Harris, hit my my little headgear or whatever, and it fell off. And I was grabbing it and I was like, "Oh my goodness." And I used to twirl 4 of them and it didn't work. So I just felt like, wow. But fortunately, Tuesday, my interview was a lot better than I thought it was. And they didn't really care as long as I showed up the rest of the way. They were like, "She's going to be our next Miss America." And I don't know why they felt that, but my sister was really, she said, "You just need to relax and have fun. Don't feel the pressure. You've already gotten here. And so that really helped me. She says, don't worry about the dress. Don't worry about your talent. If you're supposed to be there, oh, you'll be there.
I
So-
love that she said that, because whenever I meet artists, musicians, whatever it is, that's what I tell them. I said, hey, don't forget to have fun.
Yeah.
Because if they're not having fun doing that, we aren't having
That's right.
fun watching.
That's
them.
right. Yeah.
That's what I don't. That's
Yeah.
all I shake their hands. I say, hey, nice to meet you. Go have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And my brother Paul, he's now in his 40s. He was in the 4th grade. And he just wanted to know. He said, well, when are you going to come to school? Because all my friends want to meet you. And I signed pictures for everybody at his grade school. But just see the pictures that were captured of my family when they heard my name announced. I mean, the way they did it for my year, they had 10 people standing there, and they announced 4th runner-up, 3rd, 2nd, and then there were 6. So it wasn't just 2.
Okay.
There were 6 of us left. And so I didn't really even react
until your name was called. You had no idea.
And not even like the K. I got through the K, the Lonnie, the Ray, and then it was Rafko that I went, wait, what? And so, yeah, it did hit me. And I've often shared that working as a nurse, I worked midnights. Well, I took a break and I switched and worked days so that I could get ready. My colleagues switched so that I would be on a regular day schedule to prepare for Miss America. And right before I left, someone retired, and they said, you have most seniority. Do you want the day job after the Miss America's done? And I said, yes, I do. And they said, okay. So I'm walking the runway, and I've got to be honest, one of the first thoughts was I lost my day job. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to go back. I know that person's going to take it from me, and I've lost it because they're not going to hold it for a year. And I just was like, oh my goodness. And I'm like, well, we can't get married for a year, Chuck. And I'm waving all the people and the cameras on
Coach?
me.
In the middle of a game thinking
Like, this better work out. This better work out.
Yeah. So, and it was a whirlwind, because right away you're taken to New York, and I was like, I just miss being with my family. And again, no cell phones, no way of connecting with them. My phone bills ran like anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 a month. And
those per minute days.
Those are per minute days and long distance. But it was something I don't think my family would, it was just a great gift. And and just like even Nick winning the Rose Bowl and stuff, it's a lot of wonderful things. But sometimes I think we kind of, Kim was right. You got here, whether you come home with a crown or not, just means you're not supposed to. People ask me, how'd you do it? How'd you go all the way? I said, I really can't explain it. I didn't work harder than anybody else on that stage that year. I really can't explain it. It was just meant to be. It was meant for me to bring this title back to Monroe. And that's the only way to explain it. I really don't, I don't have any other way. So, but like Kim said, sometimes we have to think about, gosh, how do we define that achievement? And can we be happy with ourselves if maybe, we don't get the gold record, but maybe it's okay to just get to the point of, I don't know, recording the song. And I'm like, that I think that has some merits, that sometimes and maybe it is social media, I don't know, that we have to go all there. And it's like, don't forget about all the good stuff that happens along the way, that, that you got to grab on and make you feel good too, because those are things to celebrate as well. So, yeah.
Most of that, yeah, you're right, because a lot of those things you forget. We say all the time, we do so much that we forget a lot of the fun times we've had. And somebody will say, so, oh, remember? And you're like, oh my goodness, I forgot all about that. And it was, we have a lot of moments like that. And
that's wonderful.
I think as people too, like when you're in that moment, well, the other reason I would say, the other reason you made it too is you just kept going, whether it was that phone call with, with Kim, whether it was that, whatever just made you keep going, not quit
for those 6 years. And again, it wasn't my goal. Young people ask me, wow, to have a goal and be able to achieve it. And I'm like, I feel bad in saying this, but Miss America was not my dream. My dream was to open up a hospice. My dream was to work with grieving people. My dream is to one day find a great man, be married, become a mother, become a grandma, stay in my hometown and grow those things. Miss America was a gift for me to get to those bigger
Right, the
things.
platform to do it.
Yes.
Yep.
And it really, I mean, it's so I didn't dream of winning the crown. And, people closest to me kept reminding me, your dreams are waiting back home. And I'm like, that's a good point. And while I loved every minute of it and I cherish those gifts because it really helped me get to those dreams and those goals quicker than most
Right.
people, opening up those doors. And you said the experiences, being able to connect with people all over the world and the experiences and learning how to do the hospice and people knowing, oh my goodness, Kaye Lani, and sitting with people like we can get that hospice, we'll help you get it going. And, those wonderful things that came with that gift of Miss America, those are that's wealth too,
Mhm.
so, but I never dreamt and had a dream of winning Miss America. So I think part of it was a shock. I really didn't think it was going to happen to me. I was so excited to make top 10. I really wanted to be on TV for the people who could not afford the trip. I wanted my Monroe people to be able to watch me.
Mhm.
I wanted, and I was like,
That's-
please, but if it's not
I
meant to
love that.
be, but not everyone could afford the trip to Atlantic City.
Right.
And I'm like, I just hope that I'm strong enough to make it to top 10 so they could cheer for me. And the most wonderful stories come from the people who were back home here that were tuned in saying, and when they said, Miss Michigan, you should have heard the screams in our house, Kaye Lani. Some of the best stories come from those people
And-
who weren't even there.
Could you
And then
imagine
back
how
then-
together the city?
Yeah, because
you
there's no
imagine?
internet. There's the community aspect of life is in full bloom, right? In the 80s, that's what there was.
Yeah.
So
It was pretty
just like
empowering for
when
them.
people rallied around Bronco for his time,
Yes.
I
Yep.
can only
Yep.
imagine that's what happened for
Yeah.
you too.
Yes.
The whole county was on your side.
And when,
You could have went to
Bronco's dad,
war and everybody would have come with you. You know?
right. Well, and that's how it is. And we joke back and forth because I'm a little older than Bronco. But our dads both played on they both managed ball teams. So
Yep.
they played against each other. And so they kind of were raised together. And so I used to push Bronco around in a stroller. And he's like, wow, we've come a long way, Miss America. I said, yes, we have, little Bronco. But
and that's part of what I love about living in a small town. Not everybody, but it's a small town.
right.
Everybody kind of at least has a link with
We all
Yeah.
come from different walks right here, and we all we just met a few years ago. We just met today, and we all know Bronco from a different
something
walk
different.
of life,
Sure.
different lane. Right, that's the beauty
Yeah.
of it.
And
And now you both can say, well, listen, we met Kaye Lani.
Yep.
well, even so, my grandfather was really big in this town, him.
Uh-huh.
And just being able to meet the people that he rubbed elbows with
Mm-hmm.
and that were his friends, and
Yes.
that's the
And I've mentioned he
wealth
and my dad,
for me. Yep.
very, very good friends.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I don't tell a lot of people just because I try to bring my own self. I don't,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But he's a big influence, and
Mhm.
I see just doing what we're doing. I see he was a big influence to a lot of people.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I know my dad often mentioned, if there's any questions, and shortly after when he died, we did have questions with dad's, yard business and stuff. And he was one I was able, that's why I mentioned to you, I think I still have his cell number in my cell phone, that I was saying, hey, I need to sit down and talk with you. I need some guidance. My mom needs some guidance on what to do.
Mhm.
Because my dad went very quickly. He was 59. He had a stroke on a Friday. Came back home on a Saturday and died later that afternoon. So it was very, very, had stroke on Thursday, came home Friday and died Saturday. So it was very, very quick, that there wasn't any time to prepare for anything. And he owned it and operated his own business. But he often had given me a couple names, said, if anything were to happen to me, you need to reach out. And your grandpa was one of those names. Yeah. And I did. And he guided my mom. He guided all of us into what the next steps would be and taking care of what needed to happen and what his thoughts were. He was a very smart businessman. And so, without mentioning any names, but Yeah, he was one of 2 people my dad mentioned to reach out if anything were to happen to him. So that's a lot to be proud
That's
of.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah.
It's an incredible story, honestly.
Mhm.
It's very cool.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So if I write a book, you guys are going to buy one, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely.
Because I'm going to
read
take that money and I'm going to reinvest them in Monroe.
Yeah, we would definitely listen. That would be.
I always said that
I think
if I
you
hit it
should.
big, that's what I'm doing too. I will never
Yeah.
ever would never reach billionaire status because I'd be giving back too
Yeah.
much.
Well, yeah, you have to. It's like it's what makes us a strong community, and I think I'm so blessed because boy, I tell you, I can go to almost anybody, and and like I talked early on about the joy of giving, and and every amount matters. There are people who walk in, and after sitting with our professional counselor and our program director, Kate, is just amazing. She's just incredibly amazing with our clients and the people in our community. Um, they'll feel bad because we don't charge for any of our services at Gabby's. Everything is at no cost to the people who need our services. And we've been able, through the blessings and generosity of so many people and businesses and a few grants, have been able to continue providing that for 23 years. We celebrated 23 years in our community on July 1st. And it's for people of all ages. And so we do a lot of wonderful programming and services to help people, um, get to take those first few steps of that journey without their loved one. And they feel alone, and it's hard, especially, an older person might be trying to define who they are without their spouse after 50, 60 years. That's very difficult. So we do social wellness programs, we have adult support groups, and it's peer to peer, but we're blessed to have a program director with a very special skill set that can work with frontline people, can work with people of all ages, and her and her team are the staff are in schools for kids who don't have transportation to us. We just wrapped up we had 75 kids at a Camp Fearless we do at no cost. But when you have an older person walk out after sitting with Kate feeling so much better and say, I'm on a fixed income and I only have this, and hand me a $5 bill, it makes me talk about wealth, makes me feel so good inside to be able to stand up and say 1 second and grab a beautiful bound teen journal that's all beautifully colored, helping a grieving teen be able to express in a healthy way on how he or she is going to cope with the loss of a loved one, and tell her that this right here, your gift just bought that for a teen who will lose a loved one. And to see this, it doesn't have to be profound. It is any gift that matters. And sometimes people hold back to think my $5 won't matter and won't make a difference. It all makes a difference.
Yep.
It all makes a difference. So I bounce around a lot, don't I?
No, this has been a great
Okay, good.
conversation.
No,
This
no.
is an hour already.
Is it?
Yeah.
And I said, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, I know. I know.
But I feel like I've got, but I hope any
This has
viewer
been a
listening,
fantastic.
if it's something that Gabby's can't provide support for you, still call, because we never want people to feel like they were abandoned. We want to hear from you. And if it's something we can't do, we're going to connect you with some other resource in the community that can help. I mean, we're limited in what our mission is, but we are the hub for all things grief. And that includes grief from other kinds of losses. Not all grief comes from death.
It's truth.
So, but we will work hard at trying to find a place, that a safe place for you to talk and work through some of the stuff that is causing you pain. And we have a lot of partners in this that we're able to reach out to say, hey, here's a phone number. Here's a phone number. This person's going to be calling. So yeah, reach out. You can Facebook friend us. It's Gabby's Ladder Grief Center. And also call us at 734-242-8773. And everything is at no cost. We actually align our beliefs with other grief experts throughout the country that we don't believe grief is diagnosable. We do not bill insurance companies. All of the programs and services we provide are because of the gifts of individuals and businesses and sponsors. And so we're not going to diagnose you. If we find that you might need a diagnosis and some extra kind of support for that diagnosis, then we will share where you can go to get that. But this is all about, supporting you at no cost and making sure that you get what you need. And but we have a lot of great groups, workshops, opportunities to learn about your grief and how to cope with that in a healthy way. So I hope that your viewers look and share the information, or use it for themselves or share it with someone else in need.
I'll share the Facebook page as well on my page.
You got anything else?
No, I mean, it's been a great conversation, to be honest. I
Thank you.
appreciate that. The only question I had is, so is there somewhere they can go as far as like, is there an actual physical location?
We have an actual building. It actually was it was gifted to us through Lazy Boy Foundation and ProMedica advocacy area. Gave us the funds to purchase this building. It's across from the mall. It's on the corner of Woodshire Court and North Monroe Street, 2262 North Monroe Street. A lot of times we are in the community. We're a very small team. But so just call first to make sure that we're there. But on the Facebook page, you'll see some of the programs that we provide, and the social wellness programs, from yoga, book club, a walking, we do between a rock and a hard place, and we go for a walk, and just opportunities to talk and share. But we always do things based on registration. So just call so that we have a way of contacting you. If the weather's bad or if something is canceled because of an illness, we want to make sure. So, we do consults with people. Kate, our program director and licensed counselor, oversees all of that and sits with people one-on-one to see how we can help them. And if there's anything in addition that is beyond what we do, she connects them with places to make sure. A lot of times it's hard when you lose a loved one that you're nervous now, not about the grief of that loss, but who's going to pay the mortgage payment. Right. So it's really hard to work with someone on their grief journey and helping them learn to cope when they're worried about who's going to pay the electrical bill. Or, I can't get my kids from school anymore and we're school of choice or whatever. And now I don't have that and I can't make a car payment, or I can't drive. I have this. So we need to kind of meet those basic needs and help through other organizations and connect them with those people. Then we can all work together to help support the grief and the grief journey. So that we do have an actual building. It's absolutely beautiful. Everything in that building, all three floors has been donated and renovated through donations.
Love that.
Beautiful. It's
That is
absolutely
awesome.
beautiful. It is a true gift from the community. Yeah.
Love that. Definitely. Love
So
that.
give us the address, the phone number, all
Yep.
that, how they can contact you one more time,
Yeah.
and we'll get out of here.
Gabby's Grief Center, formerly Gabby's Ladder. But Gabby's Grief Center, 2262 North Monroe Street, Monroe, Michigan, corner of Woodshire Court and North Monroe Street, across from the mall. The number 734-242-8773, and follow us on Facebook, Gabby's Ladder Grief Center.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us. This has
Thank
been
you,
an
guys.
awesome conversation.
Thank
It's
you.
been wonderful.
I've enjoyed it a lot. I know Coach
Yeah,
did. Coach,
this has been very
I
good.
think you almost got a tear in his eyes a couple times over here.
Well, there's
No,
subjects
I heard
that
him.
are close to heart.
I heard
So.
him
Of
do that
course.
little throat clear thing.
Oh
once or
my
twice.
goodness. Oh my. Well,
It's okay,
thank you
Coach.
both.
My eyes got a little sweaty too.
There was a couple times I was like, wait a minute.
Oh,
But all right, guys,
Oh.
thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming again.
yes. And thank you both. I appreciate it.
We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Jason Altenberg, 2 weeks.
Brought to you by Brain Jerk. Fuck yeah.
I forgot to